influencing popular culture, politics, and everything in between. The local station takes you ringside as we discuss the crazy world that is professional wrestling. This is Going Ringside with the local station.
Hello there, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Going Ringside. I am your host, Scott Johnson. So glad you could be with us for this special episode. A very special event going on here in Jacksonville on April the 20th, and it involves Shad Gaspard. If you remember Shad, he was one half of Time, the big, powerful, strapping part of the tag team Time with WWE in the early 2000s. And he lived a singularly heroic life and had a very heroic death. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because there is a special event going on to honor Shad Gaspard here in Jacksonville in North Florida. The big event to honor Shad Gaspard that is going on, the Shad Gaspard Memorial Tournament, coming to Jacksonville on April 20th. It will be held in the Murray Hills section of Jacksonville. It is being put on by friend of the show, Elijah Burke, a.k.a. DePope. Elijah will be joining us a little later in the show to talk about the event. They're going to have some big stars there. His partner in Time, JTG, who was there, and JTG will join us in just a minute to talk about the life of times of his partner and close friend Shad Gaspard. We've also heard the world's strongest man, Mark Henry, will be there. So some big celebrities going to be at the major show in Jacksonville on April the 20th. Tickets are still available. So we're going to talk all about Shad Gaspard. Shad Gaspard really got on the national scene in 2006 when he and JTG were brought up as a tag team to the main roster, WWE, out of Ohio Valley Wrestling, and given the tag team of Time. They came out, their gimmick was they were these criminals who would do the wrong thing, but they were technically good guys. The crowd loved them. They immediately got over with the crowd, and people liked Time. They loved JTG, they loved Shad, and they had a very good run with all the high-profile guys, from your D-Generation X, Big Show, Jericho, all the top guys somehow interacted with Time, as they really became top stars on the roster during their time there. And Shad was a part of it. And they lasted, I think, till about 4 years. And eventually, Shad left the company in 2010 and eventually wanted to go become a Hollywood star. So I remembered Shad, from his time with Time as years went on. And I remember, because I work in TV news, that's my primary job. And I remember a story coming up, and let me pull it up. So it came on the news. We covered it here on the news. I'm at Channel 4 in Jacksonville, and I heard this news: WWE star foils a robbery. Shad Gaspard. I remember Shad from Time. I remember Shad. And the basis was, this was down in Coral Springs, Florida. We're not far. I'm based here in Jacksonville. So there was this intoxicated guy, and there was some sort of robbery going on, and JTG's going to tell us the whole story. But Shad intervened. Shad, an enormously powerful, strong guy who no one in their right mind would want to mess with. And Shad took the gun and essentially held the guy until the police arrived, and was kind of heroic in that story. And Shad Gaspard made the news again. And then Shad, according to JTG, because I wasn't quite sure what had happened to Shad, he wanted to go become an actor, follow in the footsteps of people like The Rock, Cena, Dave Bautista, guys who were really his contemporaries in those early 2000 WWE years. And he went out to Hollywood, had a great look, real strong guy, got some roles. JTG's going to talk to it about us in a little bit. And then tragedy strikes, which is why we're doing this episode today, which is why this event is happening in Jacksonville on April the 20th to honor Shad with his friends, other wrestlers, other stars from WWE past, to come honor Shad. May 17th, 2020. Shad was out swimming near Los Angeles in the Pacific Ocean with his son. They get caught under a rip current, a rip tide, and Shad tries to save his son. The lifeguards come out to help rescue his son. Shad says, "Get my child to safety." his son is rescued. Shad was not. And in May of 2020, Shad Gaspard passed away. He was eventually put posthumously in the WWE Hall of Fame, well-deserved, obviously, because of, the heroic way he passed away. There's been a lot of things to honor him. WWE honored him with the that year's Warrior Award, and there have been other things. So he just lived a singularly heroic life, and he was heroic in his death. He was a hero, and he's being honored April 20th in Jacksonville for the Shad Gaspard Memorial event. Don't want to miss it. So I figured the guy we want to talk to, we got 2 interviews today. We've got Elijah Burke, a.k.a. DePope, who's putting this all on, a contemporary of Shad, a friend of Shad, and he got this all organized with his Love Alive charity, which is based here in Jacksonville. And Elijah puts on a lot of independent shows, particularly here in North Florida where we're at. And one of the signature people to come in for this, if you're going to talk Shad Gaspard, you have to talk his partner, JTG, in Cryme Time. He will be here. So I got JTG to come on the show with us and talk everything Cryme Time, how they started, about Shad's life, and about Shad's death, and what he was like as a man and a father and a tag team partner and a wrestler. Just kind of considered, I guess, a protector of sort. He had come from a background in being a bodyguard, into wrestling, into acting. So without further ado, as we move forward with the show, the first guy we got to talk to is JTG, his partner in Cryme Time. Here's our interview with JTG. Well, we're excited to be joined right now by Shad's longtime partner, JTG. JTG, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Scott. Appreciate you giving me this time.
Yeah, so excited. Well, first off, before I do want to talk a lot about Shad, but let me start. What are you up to now? What's going on in your life?
Oh man, I'm just staying busy, man. Staying busy on the indies. Just focusing on but through 2024, just rebranding the character, see what works and what doesn't work, and I'm trying that out on the indies. And then you'll see what happens in late 2024, 2025. I want to see what works and take it to a bigger platform.
Sure. Talk to me a little about how you and Shad met, your story. How did you guys come together?
Man, me and Shad have a crazy story. I met Shad when I was 19 years old. I was actually, it's a crazy story how this all ties up. I was introduced to him by Elijah Burke.
Really? Okay, small world. Yeah.
So, because I was introduced to him because I was down in OVW. I was in Kentucky where we all trained at. And I think it was my first amateur show, my first match. And some of the amateurs had to come to the Danny Davis Arena early. And Elijah Burke was helping me a lot when I moved to Kentucky. He helped me out. He was like a big brother.
Stop for a second, because Elijah was telling me about Danny Davis, and I'm not familiar with Danny Davis. Who is he? Elijah says he's so important to you guys in your story.
Danny Davis is a big deal. If it wasn't for Danny Davis, there will be no Elijah. There'll be no Pope. There'll be no JTG. There'll be no Cryme Time. There'll be no John Cena, Randy Orton. Danny Davis was the owner and founder of OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling, where a lot of talent came out of and trained. Shelton Benjamin, Brock Lesnar. Yeah, we all went through those OVW doors and we came out stars.
Everyone I heard just talks just like Danny Davis was like the greatest thing ever. Was he just that good?
He gave us the platform. He gave us the platform to perfect our craft, and if we didn't, he let us know. So we needed that harsh criticism and somebody on us for the ones who he saw passion in, him and Rip Rogers.
Sure. So you were saying you and Shad, Elijah kind of got you and Shad together.
Yeah, he introduced me to Shad at an amateur show, and then from there, Shad. I was kind of wondering it myself, but I think the universe he made Shad like a big brother to me. Like he looked out, like outside the ring, besides the wrestling and the tag team, me and Shad was close from day one. He took me under his wing. He showed me how to work out. He got me my first job in Kentucky. In my second amateur show, he was my tag team partner. That was the first time we tagged, was on an amateur show, and he didn't have to do that, When I was down in Kentucky, I call OVW like my college years, because I spent about 4 years, and then I graduated to WWE. WWE. And
you say you say you viewed Shad as a big brother. He's physically a big brother. I mean, he was such a big guy. I mean, could you see when you saw him, this is like a star here?
When I first met him, yes. I'd be like, oh yeah, he's down in OVW's in the right place. He's definitely going to get signed. And yeah, I was right. But Shad took a liking to me. He worked at the club. He was a bar. Speaking of being a big guy, he was a bodyguard. He bodyguard for a lot of celebrities. I remember down in OVW, Mike Tyson had a match there and had a fight, and he was one of the bodyguards. So he was a well-known bodyguard. Yeah, and he did work he worked at the club. I was only 19 when I moved to Kentucky, so I can say it now. I won't get in trouble, but he gave me his ID so I could go to the club when I was 19. So I was in and out of the clubs. He would look at it. Yeah, whatever.
So along the way, do you guys, make a deal to come in together? Was that coincidence once you got to WWE?
So the idea to put Shad and JTG together, because we were always cool, we were tight. I was always seen in OVW, but we were in a tag team. I was kind of doing my own thing, and he was doing his own thing, and it was actually Danny Davis and what's his name? He's got to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. Paul Heyman.
Oh yeah, Paul. Yeah,
name slipped my mind. Yeah, Paul Heyman. It was their idea to put us together because Shad just finished running a championship title run with CM Punk. He had a good storyline. He puts Punk over, and after that, I was like, "What are we gonna do with Shad now?" He's a guy we want to keep him hot. And then they decided to put him in a tag team with me. And then the following week, we won the tag team titles, and we just went running from there. They gave us a torch, and we just kept running.
What was were you Cryme Tyme then, or were you something else?
No, we were just Shad and JTG. So I had the look that you're familiar with now with Cryme Tyme with the jeans and the Timbs and the jewelry and what everybody's familiar with. I had that originally. Shad was a wrestler. He was in tights. He was a badass, and that was his gimmick.
Yeah.
And then when they put us together, he naturally adapted the jeans and the Timbs, and then we made it our gimmick. We both from Brooklyn. That just happened to be a coincidence. Yeah, we were both from Brooklyn, born and raised in the same neighborhood. Probably ran into each other, but didn't know. And it just worked. Everything has worked out perfectly. We were just there at the right time, right place, and we were a tag team.
How did the WWE thing happen? I mean, when did you get the call together as a team, or?
Yes, we got the call together as a team. Shad was already signed with WWE under a developmental contract in OVW. So I wasn't signed yet. But I put myself, they put me with Shad so I could get noticed because they saw a lot of charisma and talent in me, and I was young. So I was told, it panned out to be true, that the writers saw one of our segments, a Cryme Tyme segment. We weren't called Cryme Tyme yet, but we were the tag team champions, and Al Snow came up to us one day and said, you guys already beat all the tag teams here. We don't have a match for you this week, but I'm going to give you a cameraman. Go out and have fun and let people see your personality, and just go out there and just have fun. Do some vignettes. Me and Shad looked at each other. They gave us a cameraman, and we had creative freedom. We had a blast. We shot like 4 segments, like training videos, training videos. And that got, the goal was just to do it for OVW, but it got in front of Vince. The writers enjoyed it so much. They know we used the Eye of the Tiger theme, and they knew that Vince McMahon was a fan of Rocky, the Eye of the Tiger theme. And we just did a few comedy sketches, and Vince saw it. And then as soon as he saw it, he's like, I love their on-screen chemistry. I want that on the Raw brand. And the writers were like, well, the little one is not signed yet. He was like, sign him. I want that on the Raw brand. At the time, Vince wanted Dave Chappelle was hot at the time, so he wanted a lot of Dave Chappelle type comedy and backstage segments, and we fit the bill.
You did. So who named you Cryme Tyme? How did that name come about?
So that name came about sitting in the writer's room for about 2, 3, 4 hours. We was coming up with names, and the names that we really wanted, they were all taken. They were trademarked, or we could even try to spell different stuff differently. I remember we wanted to be called Gang Stars. We tried to play around with that differently. We couldn't get the trademark. One of the writers came up with Hoodie Nation. You know, me and Shad looked at each other like, oh, hope they don't go with that. Yeah, we went through a few names, and then I think Shad just one time just said Cryme Time. We was like just throwing stuff at the wall, and Shad just said Cryme Time. I looked at him, Cryme Time? And he also started saying it over and over again, Cryme Time, Cryme Time. You like Cryme Time? I like Cryme Time, time for crime.
Yeah.
And then the writers was like, yeah, let's check to see if it's taken. They was like, yeah, the original way, let's throw a Y in there and Crime and Time, and now it's ours. So that's how we came up with it and kept it, Cryme Time.
And if I remember right, your song was Brooklyn, Brooklyn right off the top. Was there lyrics after that, or was it just Brooklyn, Brooklyn, then the music after that?
No, there was definitely some lyrics after that. I never met
Was that
the artist.
you guys or someone else?
Someone else, yeah. And I was about to say we never met the artist who did the song, but he did a great job. He captured what Cryme Time was. The fans love it. And every time they see me, you know, they didn't even say the whole song. They just say Brooklyn, Brooklyn, and I'm like, all right.
So you guys get in, and sometimes, you know, tag teams struggle to get over. You guys got over overnight, literally. Like the fans really latched onto it, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Yes, it was, and we got. That's a blessing and a curse. You know, you want to be loved and adored by the fans right off the back. Some people have to work hard to get that. And because Shad and I, you know, we were doing a gimmick, but that was actually our culture, you know, the hip hop culture, you know, and that's what it came naturally to me. And we were really from the streets. We were street smart, but we just made it. We turned it in a comedic way, and the fans love the authenticity. Help me with that word,
Authenticity.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, what are some of you guys' favorite feuds you had, or angles, or segments you guys had?
Oh man, one of my favorite backstage segments was with DX. That was fun. That was over in London. We sold them tickets to the show. We were scalping tickets outside, and DX bought it from us. That's one of my favorite segments. Working with Chris Jericho and Big Show, that was amazing because we really had to step our game up for that. It was for the titles. We were one of the championship matches at SummerSlam, I believe 2010. And we didn't win the titles, but that's still that's one of my biggest moments in WWE.
Did you kind of mark out as a fan when you're like going head to head with Big Show and Jericho and DX and guys of that level?
Oh, absolutely. I had my my aha moment, like my moment, because when you first get signed, is like you want to take a moment to to actually like soak in the moment. But with WWE, when you first got, you busy. And then our first European tour, it was around winter. I was on the bus. We was on the bus going to the next town, next state. And this is overseas in the UK, and I'm like sitting in my chair, and in the front row you have Roddy Piper, you got Ric Flair, you got Shawn Michaels, you got Triple H. In the back you got John Cena, Batista, Rey Mysterio, and I'm sitting in the middle of this, and I'm like, wow, I did it. All those times I went to practice when I didn't want to go, all those workouts that I didn't want to, I wanted to skip, but I went. I earned my spot here, and it was like it took me. I looked, I put my head against the window. I was like, wow, I actually did it, and that was my moment where I was like,
did you worry at all about the Cryme Time gimmick? Like, if you guys would get pushback at all from media or sponsors? Oh, you did?
Absolutely. Yeah. I needed a lot of pep talk with that because the first thing was that we're portraying a negative stereotype. And what I was told, the first thing Vince told me, when we had that first meeting with him, he was like, I want to take this negative stereotype, of the what you see in the rap videos, the thug, when somebody from the suburbs see somebody who plays their character on TV, they cross the street. I want to take that image and I want to flip it. I want you guys to have fun on TV. You're like, you guys you're gonna steal, but you're gonna be the Robin Hood. But you're gonna give it back. You're gonna auction it. You're never gonna steal something and you keep it and show like a positive outcome from it. Like you always gotta take from the wrestlers or take and then sell it back or auction it off. Have fun, but always come out smiling. Show that grill, or we're gonna take that image and flip it. So to me, from the beginning, I understood the mission. But if you don't know what the goal is, you're just seeing two young guys seeing what they see on all over on mainstream media.
Did you run into any like offended fans or anything like that ever?
Oh yeah, but I didn't focus on that. I only focused on the individuals and the groups, that enjoyed our work. And yeah, I only focused on the positive. Yeah.
So as far as Shad, what was he like behind the scenes? I mean, I know what I watched on camera, but what was he, like as a guy?
Shad loved to have fun. He's always up for a good time. He always tried to bring the mood up. Always asking if everybody's all right, if everybody making sure everything's okay around him. That's what I saw him do a lot, and I also adapted myself, just making sure everyone who's around you, who's close to you, is all right. Especially like when we went to the clubs or we went out in the big group gatherings. Shad was the one going around checking. I guess because it was his bodyguard, it became second nature. But it was also his personality. But he wouldn't make you good. You need anything? Anybody messing with you? All right, good. And he did that, but he didn't need to do that. Shad, with Shad, I'm laid back person. I'm like cool and chill. But when I'm with Shad, it brings out like a childlike behavior in me. When we get together, we're just immature. We just have fun. We just let our hair down and just, and that's those type of relationships are very rare. That's very rare.
When he finally left WWE, what happened with him? What was he doing in life after that?
After that, Shad pursued Hollywood. He wanted to be one of his goals was to produce and be in movies. And Shad was definitely doing that. He was staying busy in Hollywood. He did a bunch of cameos in a few movies that you guys probably seen. Get Hard with Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell. He was in that. He was in a movie with it was a DC movie, Harley Quinn. He was.
Yeah. Like these are big movies. Yeah.
He was staying busy, and he was getting his scripts seen from different companies, different big companies, like actually getting interviews like with Warner Brothers and stuff like that. He bumped into Vince and not Vince. He bumped into Hunter and Stephanie one time in one of his meetings. They're like, "What you doing here?" He's like, "Oh, they're taking a look at my picture, my script. What you guys doing here?"
So did a lot of that come from like what happened with Rock and I guess Cena and Batista at that point? Did like a lot of other wrestlers kind of get the acting bug and think I can maybe try this?
Yeah, yes, that's exactly what it was, and that was the reason why Shad moved out to LA. He wanted to pursue his second dream, and that was actually creating, producing, and being a part of the movie industry.
He had the look. I mean, he definitely had a good movie look.
I think he would have definitely been somewhere right as of right now. He'd have got some big roles because he was definitely doing his thing, staying busy.
So I want to ask you about something that came up. You may or may not know about this. I think it was 2016. Shad did stop a robbery that was down here in Florida. Do you know that story? Because I remember we covered it because I do the news too, and I remember we covered it on the news.
Yeah, it was on my birthday. We had a show. Yeah, we had a show, and after the show, we usually go to our hotel room. We grab some stuff from the gas station, like some drinks, some water, some snacks, and because usually nothing's open to eat, so we just grab what we can at the gas station. And that guy that night who decided to rob a gas station with a fake gun, he chose the wrong gas station to go to. And Shad, he didn't know if it was a real gun or not, but he knew it was bigger than the guy, so he wasn't scared. Shad had guns pointed to his face before, doing bodyguard work and living in Brooklyn, so he wasn't afraid of the gun. And soon as he saw opportunity, he struck fast and took the guy down real quick. And then he brought the guy outside. And at first I didn't know what happened. I'm in the car. I see Shad throwing somebody on the ground. I'm like, oh.
Oh, you were there at the time. I didn't realize you were at the scene.
I was in the car. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking outside. I'm not even shocked or surprised. I just I want to get back to my room. I see somebody getting thrown on the ground. And then I'm looking at the whole situation. Like, what is Shad doing now? Ooh. The guy probably said something wrong to him and pissed him off. I don't know. And then I look close and I see a gun by the guy's, not too far from the guy's hand. So I'm like, oh shit! And I run out the car, and it's a gun. And I kick the gun from his hand. I'm like, what was going on? He's like, he tried to rob the gas station. I'm like, oh, I'm not never getting back to my hotel room because now we got to wait for the cops, and you got to give a report. And I'm like, oh, I just had to. And then the cops came, and we was there for about a few hours, and he gave his report. I just stayed in the car, because all I did was kick the gun away from his hand. It wasn't me did anything. It was all Shad.
I'm thinking most guys would just be really shaken up after something like that. What was he like? Did he care? Because he'd been a bodyguard and a wrestler, so I'm assuming it didn't shake him up as much as me.
No, I didn't shake him up too much after that. I think everything carried on as normal afterwards. It was until the media, really kind of like blew it up, and then he was like, "Oh, again, I'm getting some. This is getting a lot of attention. I guess I'll jump on it."
Yeah. And did he start getting calls, or do you remember what that was like? Because I just remember we started getting it on the feeds and on the news wires that ex-WWE wrestler stops a robbery.
I think he was getting the calls. That was nothing to him. He just did what he'd do what he usually do. There's a lot of stuff that Shad does that doesn't get any public attention. We just kind of keep it to ourselves. Defending. I remember one time he was at a club in what's Tori Wilson's town again? Idaho. Is it Idaho?
Up in Boise, yeah, that's where she's from. That's right.
We went to a show in Boise, Idaho, and some guy was yelling at his girlfriend. I don't know if it was his girlfriend, but yelling at some female at the club. Had his hands in his face, looked like he was about to get physical. Shad stepped in, and he did what he had to do, and the girl was fine, and she went in her Uber, and then we just act like nothing. We just went about our business. He didn't need He didn't need any notoriety for it.
Do most of the guys just back down when they see Shad? He's enormous.
Yeah. The guy was smart. Yeah, he didn't want them problems that night.
Yeah. So, how did you hear when he passed? I mean, can you talk to me about that day for you?
Yeah, it was a Sun. I believe it was a Sunday night. His wife called me at the time. She was with his son, and when she told me initially that Shad is missing, because of the nature of Shad and I's relationship, I immediately thought it was a joke, like he's messing with me, because we play very harsh jokes on each other. It's like you have to have that relationship to do those type of jokes with each other. It's like anybody else would get pissed, but because of our relationship, it's like Shad, or that's just Jay. This one I thought it was a joke at first, and then so I had to but the tone in her voice, it raised my antennas up.
Yeah.
And I was like, she asked me to come to the apartment, and like, if it's a joke or not, I'll just go for it, because hearing Shad is missing, that's crazy. It's like, how is this big guy missing? Like, stop it. But I just played along with it, like, all right, I'm coming over. And then when I came over, she was in the car with his son, and they were going to get flashlights. She's like, yeah, I just had to get some flashlights and some batteries. We're going on the beach to look for Shad. And it's sounding even more bizarre. Like, wait, what? You're going on the beach with flashlights to look for Shad? Why do you need flashlights? I understand it was dark, and she was like, then she told me, she was talking to me, and she told me the details. And then when I heard that, my heart immediately like went to my stomach, and then I just came to terms with it, right? Came to terms with it like this might, I don't think he's gonna show. In the back of my head, like, from with all the details that she's telling me, it didn't sound good at all.
Mm-hmm.
She asked me to go on the beach and help her look for him. It was three of us, and then she also called like two family friends, and all five of us six of us were on the beach, looking for. I'm just looking. I don't know what I'm looking for, but I want to be there for support.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think around midnight, 1 a.m. our time, she stayed looking. I was like, I gotta head back to the house. She still had somebody there helping her. But on the beach, that's when I was like, I accepted it.
Mm-hmm.
The details that I got and the energy and just, I came to terms right there on the beach.
Describe to me what had happened. His son was out in the water. Was that what happened specifically?
So I had to look up riptides, because that was the first time I've ever heard of a riptide.
Mm-hmm.
But him and his son was on the beach. They're not on the beach. They were in the ocean together, not too far out. But it was that day there was a lot of like announcements from the Coast Guard. Don't go too far because there's riptides. The riptides are strong, and once you get caught up in a riptide, it's really difficult to swim out of. It's constantly pulling you. And for some reason, him and his son, they got caught in a riptide, and it happened all so quick, I heard. And then once they got notice from the lifeguard, he swam out, and he's like, take my son, because it's, I don't like the buoy, whatever, what is that thing, the lifeguard thing, the red thing.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like they have on Baywatch. Yeah.
I think he could only pull one person back, but if Shad was an average sized person, he probably would have be able to hold take both of them back. But Shad's a big guy, so it's like I don't know. I can't swim both of you guys because at that time when you were fighting a riptide, I understand you get really tired. Like you reach to a point, it's like okay, I can't outbeat this. Let me just try to just maintain. And then he took the son, and while he was taking this midway there, he looked back to check on Shad, and he saw a big wave just crash over him. And then when the big wave came crashing over him, he never emerged. He never came back up. And they swam back. They got helicopters. They got lifeboats, and they could not find him.
I thought I had read that some other wrestlers had kind of come and maybe helped in the helicopters or something. Is that accurate?
No, I don't know about that.
Okay, I didn't know if that was accurate. I read that online. I was that seems odd to me. The way he passed, I mean, trying to rescue his son, that's just hard to believe that, how heroic that is.
Yeah.
And how are his family doing? How have they been since this? Do you keep in touch with them at all?
Yeah, I keep in touch with the wife, and I speak to the son, there and there on social media. But they're doing very great. They're doing good. They moved back to Texas, and I make sure that I check in just to make sure that Raya, that's the name of his son, is doing good.
And he's grown. Was he? How old was he at the time? Was he young and getting older now? What's going on?
I can't remember the exact age. The last time I saw him was actually on his birthday. I'm trying to remember what age it is. I think he turned 13. So yeah.
So he was young when this happened. Yeah, young.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What would you say Shad Gaspard's legacy is?
Shad Gaspard, me knowing him and seeing the amount of acts, the heroic acts I've seen him do, and not want any type of and just going on like it was regular. I call him, like, I know it sounds cliche, but his legacy is a hero. I've seen him swoop into action like a hero many a times, and you didn't think nothing of it, and he didn't get a big head about him. You just act like it was his normal work. So to me, it's going to be a hero. His legacy is a hero.
And we have this big event coming up. You're going to be there. Elijah Burke's putting it on. We just heard Mark Henry's going to be there. Talk to me about this event. Why people should come out. Why you think it's an important event?
Oh, it's an important event, especially if you're a fan of Tyme, and also if you have a lot of love and respect for Shad and what he's done. A lot of talent in the indie scene, who Shad was close with, who Shad left an impression with. We're all coming together for a tournament, in his honor, and on April 20th. There's a lot of competitors, some great competitors, but my goal is to win that for the homie that night.
And Shad was put in Hall of Fame, I believe, posthumously for WWE. Is that right?
Correct. I believe that was 2 years ago. Yes.
Yeah, that was a good honor for him. Very deserving, absolutely.
Yeah, and it was good to go up there with his son and wife to escort them for them to receive his award.
Sure. Well, JTG, we'll look for you in Jacksonville when you're here for the big event in April. We really appreciate you sitting down with us today. And where can people track you down if they've lost touch? Where can they find you and keep track of what you're doing?
If any fans, any Crime Time fans out there want to keep up with me and see what I'm doing, you can check me out on Twitter, JTG121084, and on Instagram, JTG 121084.
Perfect. Well, JTG, thanks for joining us on the show today.
No problem. Thanks for having me. It was a good one.
So I appreciate JTG taking the time out to talk to us about his partner, Shad, all those years. And let's talk a little more about this tournament that's happening once again. Murray Hill Baptist Church Gymnasium, 4300 Post Street. That's in Jacksonville, Florida. April the 20th. Doors open at 6. Bell time is 7 p.m. The Shad Gaspard Cup Memorial Cup Tournament. So the guy who's putting this all on is a Jacksonville fixture who was a WWE guy for quite a while. That would be Elijah Burke, a.k.a. the Pope, friend of the show. We've had him on a number of times and wanted to bring him back to talk about this great event that he's put all together, got organized, bringing in JTZ, bringing guys like Tom Latimer, and, of course, the world's strongest man, Mark Henry will be on hand for the big event April 20th. So wanted to bring Elijah on to talk about the big event coming to Jacksonville on April the 20th. Here's our interview with DePope, the organizer of all this, Elijah Burke. Well, we're joined now by the organizer of this whole thing, Elijah Burke, a.k.a. DePope. Pope, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Scott. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Talk to me all about the Memorial Cup for Shad Gaspard. How did it come about? How did you come up with this idea?
Well, the idea behind it is quite simply put. Shad, aka Beast Gaspard, who somebody who's always was a dear friend of mine. Obviously, I started in the world of professional wrestling with him in OVW. And only then I only knew him as Beast. And so, just looking around, it's about to be 3-4 years since we've lost him, in May of 2020, and I just thought it was time for us to do something in the world of wrestling to continually honor him. We do recognize and we're appreciative that WWE put him, with the Warrior Award into their Hall of Fame wing of things, but we also don't want the legacy of Beast to be forgotten. As a matter of fact, there was even the original name of this cup was the Beast Invitational Cup Tournament. And that's more so to the person that we all knew before he became Shad Gaspard with the WWE. So reaching out to his wife, at the time, Ciliana, she was down with us using the name Shad Gaspard, and honoring him, because that's exactly what we're doing. We're just honoring him and his contributions to the world of wrestling.
So tell me what fans can expect if they come out April 20th in the Murray Hill section of Jacksonville. Kind of what are fans expecting that night?
Oh, man. Well, first off, when it comes to the events that we put on, obviously, these are still fundraising events to help the charity and its mission and purpose in what we do in and around Jacksonville, Florida. But for every fan that is coming out, you know that when you come to our events, you are going to witness top-tier action, storytelling. And again, we have the world's strongest man scheduled to be there, Mark Henry. We have the star maker himself, the creator of stars, the ultimate star developer in development of wrestling, Nightmare Danny Davis, again, gave me my start, gave John Cena his start, Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, Shad, JTG, and the list goes on. So we're going to have them there. And then we have these wonderful 8 competitors who had personal ties in one way or another to Beast, as I like to refer to him as. And he's impacted them. He's mentored some of them. He's traveled the world with many of us. And so it's going to be a huge night of celebration. And that's what the fans can expect.
And tickets still available? How do they get them if they want them? What do fans need to know about, getting in the door that night?
Again, we're going to have a lot of things that the fans can participate and be a part of at the event. But to get your tickets to get into the event, you want to head over to love-alive.org. We have plenty tier prices, different tiers. We have the VIP Plus. That's just $35. It gets you a free complimentary house meal. First entry into the building, first row seating of your choosing. Then we got the regular VIP. Look, these are all donations. This is just $20, and you get your second row seat. And then we have general admission at $12.50, as well as the kids for $5. So we also released, Scott, which is pretty cool. We did a platinum seating area for this event. This is where you'll be able to actually go get your own table for your group for just $300, and you get a plethora of things that come with this table of 4. You don't ever have to get up. You have your own host or hostess that will be serving you, essentially. You get all the VIP Plus perks. You also get to own 8x10. You get a specialized lanyard. You get a professional picture with all 8 contestants and the cup itself, and the list goes on. Be sure to head over to love-alive.org, and you can read more about that, learn more about that. Follow us on Instagram at the Love Alive Charity.
And the Love Alive Charity and you yourself have put on, you do a lot of shows every year, but this one's got to have a special place in your heart compared to all the other ones that you put on.
It's more than just special. It's kind of hard to even at times discuss. As grand as it is, as great and joyous of a moment, sometimes you just harken back. And let me be transparent. We're still struggling whether or not we're going to change the name back to the Beast Invitational, because every time I think of Memorial, I don't want to memorialize him. Sometimes that holds a sad connotation to it. Yeah. So when I talk about Memorial, and I think about my friend, and I think about how we lost him, and it's never easy thinking about it. It's never easy talking. So I want to keep it up. I want to keep it in a celebratory fashion, and this is probably the biggest event that myself and the Love Alive charity have done to date, and we're counting on the city of Jacksonville to do as they've always done: come out, support us, and have a great time in the process.
Well, Elijah Burke, aka the Pope, good luck with it. We hope to see you there. Thanks for joining us today.
We hope to see you there. Thank you.
And I want to thank Elijah and JTG for both spending some time with us today. A lot of fun previewing the big show that is coming to Jacksonville on April the 20th. We hope to see you out there. I'm trying to be there myself, see if I can get some time away from the news desk. Anchoring the news on Saturday nights is my other job. So I hope to see you out there. Hope that they can get a big crowd to honor Shad. Such an incredible story for an incredible man. Lived a heroic life and was heroic in his death. So April 20th, once again, is the big show. We hope you're able to make it. And thanks for joining us for the show today. We hope to see you back here next time on Going Ringside.
This has been Going Ringside with The Local Station, brought to you every Wednesday on your favorite podcast player, on New Sport Jax Plus, as well as the New Sport Jax YouTube channel.